You know, I always love riding on a night train. That measured clatter of the wheels is lulling.
Yes, it's so cozy in the carriage. Especially if you take a plaid and a book with you.
And buy tea in a thermos and pies on the way.
Exactly. Food always seems to taste better on the train. I also love climbing up on the top shelf and looking out of the window.
And I love imagining who is traveling in other compartments, making up stories about them.
Yes, it's so nice to fantasize when traveling. I like to watch the scenery outside the window.
I agree. You know, I always think back to my childhood when my parents and I were traveling somewhere. It's such a warm memory.
Oh, yes. Memories from childhood are always a joy. And it's also great to ride in a compartment with the whole family.
Well, now I'm happy to ride in this cozy carriage with you, my dear, and enjoy the pleasant little things together.
And I'm happy to share the joy of this ride with you, my dear. May it never end.
Do you remember how we once missed the train to Prague? We had to get tickets for the next flight right at the station.
You bet. It was a real situation comedy. We got into some kind of accident on the way, then couldn't find a parking lot. I ran onto the platform at the last minute.
Well, it was your suitcases that almost made us late. How much stuff was there? 50 kilograms.
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to look stylish on a European trip. But then you admired my outfits.
Okay, I admit it. Your suitcases were worth it. The important thing is that we caught the train. Remember how great it was to walk around Prague afterwards?
Of course. We also got lost in those little streets and accidentally stumbled upon a cozy cafe with the best turtleneck in the world.
Exactly. And in Vienna, we got to the Vienna Opera House in time for the concert, even though we bought the tickets at the last minute.
Yes. Sometimes being late can lead to pleasant surprises. There were so many adventures on that trip. Our travels are unpredictable.
With you, any trip is an adventure. And this trip will also be remembered with vivid impressions and moments. Shall we think of something special?
How about we get off at some small station on the way back and explore an unfamiliar town without a plan?
That's a great idea. I love your improvisations. I'm sure we'll find lots of interesting things. The important thing, after all, is to spend this time together, enjoying every moment.
And I love sharing the joy of amazing discoveries with you on every journey. Together, any trip becomes an adventure.
Do you remember that time we were on the train from Rome and your suitcase suddenly opened in the car?
You bet. How frightened I was when all my things fell out of it right at the feet of my traveling companion. Luckily, he was very kind and helped me pack everything up.
Yes, it was a funny scene. Your brightly colored sundresses and hats all over the compartment. I remember you trying to grab everything while apologizing with crimson cheeks.
Well, yes, it was very embarrassing. But this incident gave us an acquaintance with a fellow traveler, an elderly Italian man who treated us to some real Italian delicacies afterwards.
Oh yes, thanks to him we tasted such delicious parmesan. He also told us the legends of all the towns we passed by. It was so fascinating.
That's right. You see, even a suitcase breakdown turned into a wonderful encounter. Our trips together are always full of adventure.
With you, any adventure is a gift of fate. The main thing is that the suitcases should be sturdier this time.
Yes, my suitcases obviously need to be kept in check. Otherwise, they'll scatter all over the train.
Perhaps we should attach GPS trackers to them so they don't get lost.
That's a great idea. Then, Even if the suitcase decides to leave the compartment again, we'll find it quickly. The main thing is that the tracker doesn't die on the way.
I'll be sure to charge it before the trip. What if your suitcase wants to run off to see the sights?
All right, I'm just kidding. Of course, I'll be watching my luggage with both eyes. Although, sometimes it's good to let your imagination run wild and let loose.
Right. How about at one of the stations we get out and just wander around without a plan? Wherever the eye takes us. Maybe wander into some cozy restaurant.
That's a great idea. I love your improvisations. Let's get off at the most beautiful station and discover something new. The important thing is to enjoy the moment.
With you, we discover adventure even on an ordinary night train. That's the real magic.
You're right. The main thing is that together, we make an ordinary trip seem like an exciting adventure.
And we never know what's around the corner. Will we be greeted by an orchestra at the next station?
Or will we be given a bouquet of flowers and applauded like honored guests?
Or maybe a limousine will be waiting for us on the platform to take us to a luxurious restaurant. Anything is possible.
Oh yes. Let's imagine that we are greeted with applause everywhere, like celebrities. Although I prefer the usual unexpected discoveries, like an abandoned train station somewhere in the mountains.
You are right. Real treasures are often hidden in simple things. The main thing is to be able to appreciate the beauty of the moment, whether it's a lavish banquet or a cup of coffee at the station in a cozy cafe.
While we are together, every moment is marvelous in its own way. With you, I am ready to discover the wonders of life in any of its manifestations.
And for me, our love is the greatest treasure and adventure. I will remember this trip as one of my happiest moments.
Let's play an interesting game. Let's describe to each other the fictitious fellow travelers in our car, make up different stories about them.
That's a great idea. It'll be exciting. I'll start. That older man over there in the plaid shirt. He's obviously a history professor who's going to a conference in the capital to give a lecture on medieval castles.
Wonderful. And you see that lady with the book across the table? I'm sure she's a famous detective writer who is now developing the plot of an exciting new novel.
Intriguing. What do you make of the young man at the window wearing headphones? I think he's a rock musician who's on his way to give a concert in another city and is composing a new song.
That's a great version. And the girl with the backpack is obviously a biology student who goes to study rare plant species in the reserve for her thesis.
Great. Let's continue our fascinating pastime. I've already thought of an exciting story for the passenger in the suit.
You know what my favorite part about our trips is? Not the new cities and sights, but being able to spend this time with you, my darling.
And for me, the most precious thing is our companionship, our soulful closeness on the road. I can go with you in one compartment for ages.
Yes, let the train take us forward, and it's enough for us to just be close and enjoy the moment. After all, it doesn't matter so much where we arrive.
What matters is that it's a journey we're taking together. And as long as it's just the two of us, any stop will be a joyful one, even if we end up in the wrong place.